I am currently sitting AFK on top of the bank in Orgrimmar, and I've just been, just chatting with you and watching my screen, and there's people that are just walking up to me and inspecting me. And this one guy just ran up to me, and he must have misclicked because he opened a trade window and then immediately closed out of it. So yeah, there's a lot of people who see the iconic weapon and just
Wow.
immediately want to open trade or open in the inspect screen, and only to be disappointed by all of my other gear.
Jaman, yeah, Jaman. I hope you like a Jaman too. Welcome, one and all, to Jamancast. The podcast is dedicated to celebrating video games and delivering video game news and interviews. I adore video games, and I love sharing that every week. If you stick around, I think you will have a good time. This week we have the What's News segment, where I go over the video game news for the week, and then I have, as always, an interview. This week I'm joined by the first Horde player on the North American server Skeram to wield Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros. It's the legendary mace, and it's a beautiful sight to behold. If you were to buy all the mats right now off the auction house to craft the purple variation, Sulfuron Hammer, it would cost you 8,483 gold. He was excited to share his story with me and explain the process of attaining this weapon, as well as what it's like to wield it. His name is Matt Molson, and he's my interview this week. He's got a Twitch that he might be streaming on. It's twitch.tv/Matt_Molson. That's MATT_MOLSON. You might find him there wielding his weapon, swinging it around, smacking some baddies. Before we get started, I wanted to inform you of a few ways that you can elevate your experience. I have a phone number you can call if you feel like joining in the conversation. If you hear something that upsets you, if you want to yell obscenities at me, feel free to call. It won't be on the podcast, but I will listen to it, and I'll hear it. And you can yell at me and make me red in the face. Or, if you love me, if you're feeling good, you can hug me with your words, and maybe those will end up on the podcast. Maybe not, ladies. All right. Excuse me. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Jaman the Shaman. You'll know more about what I'm up to and how you can be involved. I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jaman. So with all that out of the way, let's get this podcast started. What's news, everyone? I want to start this off with first mentioning that, as of this recording, BlizzCon has not yet started. I'm not sure what's about to happen or what's going to be announced, so this episode might age poorly, or it could be perfect. But let's get going. There's lots to talk about prior to BlizzCon, and I want to share that with you. So to start us off, 28 October 2019, Kotaku released an article noting the departure of a few more game designers from Blizzard was confirmed. They said, in May, Blizzard canceled a StarCraft first-person shooter, codenamed Ares, as well as an unannounced mobile game. And in wake of those cancellations, Dustin Browder, former director of Heroes of the Storm and lead designer on StarCraft II, left the company. Eric Dodds, formerly the director of Hearthstone, and Jason Chase, formerly production director of Hearthstone, also left. A Blizzard spokesperson told Kotaku, yes, Eric, Dustin, and Jason made the decision to move on from Blizzard a few months ago. They have been and always will be considered members of the Blizzard family, and we've loved working with them over the years. We wish them the best for the future. That said, we want to make sure it's clear that development of Blizzard games has always been a collaborative effort between many talented, long-standing teammates here continuing that good work. So this is me as Jaman, want to talk about Dustin Browder, and then I want to move forward with my thoughts on Blizzard and the future of gaming as a whole, and how this all relates. Dustin Browder has created some of my favorite games of all time. I cannot understate the impact this man has had on my childhood and my love for games in general. He's changed the way I approach games and what I look for in games without even knowing it. I grew up and bounced between his games without knowing who Mr. Browder was, or that he was directly involved in all these games I was playing. Let's start with Red Alert 2. He was lead designer for Command & Conquer Red Alert 2, as well as Command & Conquer Generals. I played these games all the time. Red Alert 2 was the game I was playing with my father and my brothers. We were taking on Russia, and we were loving every game session. It was fantastic. It was really just a fantastic game for me at the time. Command & Conquer Generals was the next step of our RTS and computer game sessions. My family would play all the time. We would play as the USA. You could play as China. You could play as the evil GLA. I have a lot of great memories from that game, and from my family, we still quote the game. There's a lot of great quotes from the units, and we talk about it every once in a while. It's one of these things that floats in the back of our memories. Wow, that was a really good time playing that. I did have a chance to go back and play that, recently. Doesn't hold up as well as my memory has, but it's still a great game. So Dustin Browder was hired in 2005 of March for Blizzard Entertainment, and he was made the senior designer of StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty. His love for destructible rocks became meme-worthy, and later he would become the game director for Heroes of the Storm. And in Heroes of the Storm, he became Dustin Willfix Browder. His energy and community interaction was something I was amazed with. He was an amazing conduit of energy and love. I religiously played both Wings of Liberty and Heroes of the Storm. And just to put that in perspective, he led the design on 4 games that I played, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know that he had done that. It wasn't until later that I went back and found out all the games that he had actually affected and been a part of. So in 2017, Browder became the lead developer of the StarCraft first-person shooter named Ares. He left the Heroes of the Storm team. And of course, in June 2019, that project was canceled, and now he's no longer with Blizzard. It was kind of a under-the-radar leaving. He left, and there wasn't a big fanfare. There wasn't a big moment about it. He just left. It's really interesting to see this man leave Blizzard. I know I'll be trying whatever game he ends up working on because of the impact he's had on my life. Now, what does that mean for Blizzard, though? Dustin Browder is my favorite game designer of all time. Maybe there are subjectively better game designers, but the way he carries himself and his energy and his love for his games has bled into my life and made me love games too. To see the energy and love leave Blizzard is really disheartening. We will see at BlizzCon this weekend what Blizzard has in store for us in the coming years. But right now, they're just at the lowest point I've ever seen them. Blizzard has made so many poor decisions that just seem to be money and business transactions. Blizzard has gone from worrying about just making a good game and getting people to play it, to making a game that people will play as well as shell out as much money as possible for. It's a trend in the video game industry and something I'm very concerned with. I think it's time for the smaller companies to be the place where we go to find the beautiful games. It's going to be that way. These large companies are too large. There's too many people directing what's important. There can no longer be a single unified vision of a game with this large of a team working on something. I hope Dustin finds something he loves, and I can't wait to see what that is. So let's move on. Let's talk about Blizzard again. Another little shady thing, a little something going on. Let's talk about Blizzard and some of the things going on there, right? The Arena World Championship and Mythic Dungeon International Global Finals will be at BlizzCon. Now, get super hyped for those because those are exciting. But there's something strange going on with their prize pool. So on March 19th, 2019, Blizzard announced a limited time offering for people. They could purchase some in-game toys for World of Warcraft, and 25% of the proceeds would contribute towards the AWC and the MDI prize pool. The original post stated there would be a minimum $500,000 prize pool across both events. They announced on October 28th, 2019, that the combined prize pool would be $660,000, so a $110,000 increase after the support they received from the toy sales. But it's a little bit shady, a little bit weird what happened there, okay? 25% of the sales they made from the toys was $660,000, so people are upset. They feel like Blizzard used people to replace the money they promised the players. So instead of making the prize pool $1.16 million, which would be $500,000, plus the $660,000 they raised from the toy sales, they just kept the $500,000 minimum that they had promised. They didn't really say that they were going to give a $500,000 and add the prize pool. They just said that there would be a minimum prize pool of $500,000. So it feels less like Blizzard is actually putting up any money for this, and more like Blizzard is taking the money that people gave them to support the teams and using that to replace their current money they were putting out. It just feels disingenuous. It feels like people were being bamboozled. They thought their support would help bolster the prize pool, not cover Blizzard's costs. It's strange to have all this negative news coming out the week before BlizzCon. All this stuff is happening the week before BlizzCon. All this negative energy is just surrounding Blizzard. So what's BlizzCon going to be like? I cannot wait to watch, okay? Because this is going to be BlizzCon. This is going to be the thing to see. So one final bit of Blizzard news, more negative news, connected to the Hearthstone Blitzchung Hong Kong incident that occurred and has been having ripples throughout the last few weeks. I expect to see plenty of Hong Kong signs, and Twitch chat is going to be going bonkers during BlizzCon this weekend. So on 29 October 2019, the Daily Beast reported that Mitsubishi Motors Taiwan ended its sponsorship deal with Blizzard. This is according to Erica Roche, a spokesperson for Mitsubishi. More garbage being thrown Blizzard's way, okay? It'll take a great BlizzCon to turn around this nightmare of a PR scenario Blizzard is in. And I currently have very little faith in Blizzard. From the layoffs of hundreds of employees, the way HGC was handled, the meme-worthy reception of Diablo Immortal, and all the fallout from the Blitzchung incident, it's hard to have that faith. We'll see this weekend what Blizzard's planning, and I hope it's for the better. I'll definitely be here. I'll be ready to share the news with you, good or bad, next week. Let's move on to our final piece of news this week. It's EA, and it's actually a good thing. I feel like it's a positive thing. Maybe it's a positive thing. EA games and Star Wars games are coming to Steam. So Origin was the only place you could get Star Wars games for quite a long time. Origin is EA's store, their software they have to distribute their games. This week, Valve and EA announced that starting with Jedi Fallen Order, the Star Wars games will be on Steam. More EA games are coming. If in the coming months, we'll see Sims 4 and Unravel 2. And multiplayer games will be here next year. Apex Legends, FIFA 20, Battlefield 5. And there won't be any division between the Origin players and the Steam players. So this is interesting concerning the way games industry has shifted around Steam and the Epic Store, okay? There's been a lot of people trying to create their own platform to compete with Steam, including EA's Origin, obviously. But it appears that Steam has won EA back. I don't know if this is a good thing for the consumer in the long term. It would be nice to have some competition to Steam, but Origin was not that competition, okay? It was a buggy mess. I hated using it. In fact, I would probably be playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 right now if it wasn't for Origin. That's it, folks. That's all the news this week. That's what's news this week. Lots of negative energy surrounding Blizzard, but they have a chance to turn it around at BlizzCon. I will be watching anxiously and full of hope, and that next year will be good for Blizz, okay? If not, we might be seeing the end of an era and the start of a new one, because video games are not going away. Just because some people left one company, just because one company's doing bad things, it doesn't mean they can't create great games, okay? It doesn't mean that great games cannot be created. Somewhere out there, there's probably someone we don't even know yet making a game that we don't even know we want. It's going to redefine what we want, what we know we want, what we know, and the games we get once again. This week's interview, folks, is with a man wielding that legendary mace from World of Warcraft Classic. He's a Shaman player on the server Skeram, my server. And I had the pleasure of talking with him about his exploits, his history with video games, and what it's like to craft that legendary weapon. He goes by Matt Molson, and I really hope that you enjoy this interview. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Jamancast interview. I'm talking today with a Shaman player who has completed Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros. It's the legendary mace. He's playing on Skeram, and he's ready to beat some Alliance skulls in with insane Wind Fury procs. He's Molson. I can't wait to ask you about the Hand of Rag, man, but how's it going?
Hey, man, it's going great. Thanks for having me, and it's awesome to finally talk to you.
Yeah, I saw your post on Reddit, and I was just like, maybe this guy will come on. This sounds awesome, dude. I can live vicariously through you, because I don't think I'll ever see this mace, but it's just exciting. Like, I just saw the post, and I thought, amazing. Like, this guy got it. Like, he's living the dream.
That's great to hear, and I love being an idol, I guess. But I was in the same boat, man. You know, I've always wanted it, and never thought it would happen, and finally got an opportunity, and started putting in the work.
Nice, dude. Hell yeah. Before I ask you about that, because that's, I mean, obviously the main topic. That's what everyone wants to hear about. I do have a requirement through my podcast. I always ask this question. It's the first question because I find video games to be a compelling topic, and it's a compelling thing to ask about your history. So I want to ask you about your first game that you ever played that left an impression on you. Do you remember like the first game that just like changed your mind about video games, that gave you this feeling that holy crap, this is what video games is about?
I mean, this is gonna be lame, but I grew up on a farm and we didn't really have technology until like I got into my teens, and I really wanted to get into computers, and I went to a vocational school for computer systems technology and networking, and that was the year that World of Warcraft came out, and all my buddies were playing, and that's really the first game, and honestly, the only game that I've really been true to for my whole gaming career, I guess.
So World of Warcraft was the game that just proved to you that games are amazing, or that you wanted video
Yeah,
games.
that's pretty much it. I mean, I've played some other games in between, but I always come back and I'm always stuck on vanilla or TBC or Wrath. So, and here we are with classic, long away.
Yeah. So did you play you played vanilla then? You played an original World of Warcraft. Is that true?
I did, and I was young. I was probably 15 or 16, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But luckily, I had some friends that kind of paved the way for me. So I did play vanilla. This time around, I'm definitely going to go a little bit harder, as you can see.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, no, definitely the best expansion in my opinion, and the best communities are here. So that's really what I appreciate.
classic. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, so when you played original, you played Burning Crusade, and then when did you stop playing World of War or classic World of Warcraft? I guess that doesn't make any sense. When did you stop playing World of Warcraft retail side?
I stopped really paying for a subscription right after Wrath ended. The game went into Cataclysm, and I was raiding with majority of my real life friends who actually are playing with me in the same guild on this server now. But we kind of we raided a little bit in Cataclysm, and I think we kind of fell apart, and that's when I gave up. When the guild falls apart and the homies stop playing, then I stopped playing.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I played from. I mean, I didn't start in vanilla. I started at the start of Burning Crusade, and then we stopped right after Cataclysm came out. We were raiding the first tier of Cataclysm, and it was just kind of like everyone just kind of fell out of the just lost the beauty of the game. I'm not sure exactly. Like there was no conscious decision. Like now the game's bad. It was just like okay, let's see what's going on somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And like you said, the same experience. Once you lose that, sense of, I guess like that community. Once you lose your group or your guild or the people that you've been playing with every day, it's just not the same. And that's what Classic does so well, is it really puts people, meshes you into that community.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And I mean just thinking about like all the things that Classic forces you to do, just the travel and the economy and all the things that add up to it. So how much, and I want to talk about Hand of Ragnaros now, how much did this cost? Because do you have a metric of it? Did people help you make it? What exactly went into the creation of this?
So a lot is the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 100% a lot. And I started leveling, and I had the people that I was leveling with all knew that this was my goal. This is what I was doing. Like I was going for Hand of Rag, and I was going to start as soon as I hit 60. I was going to start, banging out my Arcanite transmute and start farming, Essence of Fire and stuff like that. So I got a good jump start on it, and I bought a couple ingots right off. The first couple weeks, people were rating MC. There was some ingots up for like 700 gold. So I bought a few of them for like 700, 500, 400-ish.
Wow.
And then I was pretty much at 0 gold. And I honestly, there was a there was a short period, maybe a week or two, where I had kind of given up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait until an eye drops, and then I'll come at it hard and start farming more gold and stuff. And an eye dropped, and
Oh
of
wow.
course, everybody in the guild knew at this point that like I was waiting for the eye, and that I was lined up for the Sulfuras. And nobody else really in the guild wanted it. I think there might be some people who are interested now, but at that time there was nobody else who wanted it, and the guild kind of came together as a whole and helped me put together the last remaining mats.
Wow.
The big thing was just the Arcanite crystals, or the arcane crystals, and the Arcanite bars.
Wow. How did you save up that much money for the ingots to have 400 gold, 500 gold for all those ingots that early in the game? Do you want to share your gold making secret, or you want to keep that one hidden away?
I don't really have any secrets. Big thing was just like I sold as much stuff as I could. I never bought anything off the AH. I didn't buy my epic mount. I lent a lot of people gold originally for their mounts, and I was using Ghost Wolf.
Yeah.
And I kind of said, "Oh, I'll loan you 100 gold if you pay me back like 120 gold or something." So I kind of loan sharked a little bit, and I don't know, just sold everything, just vended as much stuff as I could, sold anything that had any value on the
Wow.
AH, and tried not to spend any money on the AH.
Did you have to go and break any legs with your new weapon to get your money back right now?
No, but I feel like there might be some people out there who are going to start coming for their money that they've loaned me.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
There's two homies in my guild who 100% went out on the line for me. One guy gave me 20 arcane crystals, just open trade. Here they are.
Wow.
And another guy gave me like 24 arcanite bars that were already all transmuted and stuff.
Wow.
And that was a huge surprise. And obviously, I'm going to try to pay them back as best I can.
Yeah.
But a large amount of gold and a huge investment for them to put any sort of trust in me is ridiculous. I've never played with them before. These are people that I met in the last month.
Wow.
Who just stepped up and really made this whole thing possible.
What's your guild name, by the way? I didn't ask that.
Guild's name is Dimaru, and they actually have. Maybe I'll send you a link after, and you could take a look at it on your own time. But they have a very, very insane history. They've been playing together for a really long time on multiple servers, on multiple private servers, and it's the same group of guys. And they do a big meetup every year where people show up and they go and they play board games and they role play and they do all sorts of cool missions out in the woods that the guild leader has set up. And it's more like a family. And I'm just some random guy who's joined the guild and is now learning about all of this after.
Wow.
So I've not met anybody, or I've not done any of the adventures, but I get to hear all about it and appreciate it.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a ton of fun and a really close-knit group. That's just incredible.
Definitely. And I've got maybe like half a dozen homies, people who I know in real life who are playing on the server too, who are all in the guild as well. So that makes it even better, being able to talk to somebody that you know what they look like, or
Yeah.
you'd go have a beer with them after work someday or something. That makes it all that much better.
Did you always play a shaman? What was your class when you started playing in vanilla, and then why shaman now, if it's changed?
In vanilla, I was playing a warlock, and I loved it. Just wasn't really my thing. And I played alliance, so I was always getting beat up by shaman. Having them purge off my soul link and all my buffs and stuff was irritating. And when TBC came out and they announced that the Alliance were going to gain Shaman through Draenei, I decided I wanted to play Shaman. So my buddy and I both re-rolled Shamans, and he went the enhancement route and I went Resto, and I healed from that point all the way through to Cataclysm on a Shaman. And my buddy did enhancement the whole way. So that was really the start of it. And I just missed this expansion. Playing Shaman, this expansion was the one thing that I missed. So I'm glad that I get to live it now.
That's awesome. Yeah, especially with classic, not reliving your best moments, but experiencing something completely new. Even though, of course, anything you do in classic is completely new because of the time difference and the world we live in is different. But doing something completely new, like me, like I didn't get to play in vanilla at all, so getting to play about in vanilla and hearing about how great vanilla was and all these things and finally being able to experience that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun, and even though I got to do some of this stuff, I never really appreciated it at the time. And it's really, it was the nostalgia that really made this expansion or this release so exciting. And now I'm able to play and like actually be like, oh yeah, like that's why we were doing Dire Maul so many times, trying to farm that book for like my buddy or whatever. So it's cool now to be able to come back to it with a little bit more appreciation and be able to enjoy some of the finer things.
So you played on private servers after Wrath of the Lich King, is that true?
Yeah, I jumped around through numerous private servers, basically following the same people I'm playing with now. Couple friends, and every once in a while somebody would message me on Facebook, "Yo, check out this new private server that's opening, and you're gonna love it, and it's exactly what the content that that you've played before that you love so much." So I'm like, okay, I'll make a character. Jumping around every 3-4 months to a different server got old, and
Yeah.
after a while we were just sitting in Discord playing like Survivio. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Like it's a browser game, or playing this Russian truck driving simulator game, and just talking about classic. After work we get home and we get on our computers and we just talk about classic. Like, oh, I can't wait for classic. This is the first thing I'm gonna do. So yeah, I don't know.
Wow, dude, that's it's awesome. It's great to hear. And do you expect anything from BlizzCon coming up? And by the time this comes out, we'll probably already BlizzCon will have already happened when this comes out on the actual podcast. But do you expect anything from Classic WoW? And what do you want from Classic WoW going forward? Like, do you have any expectations that you'd want?
I'm kind of I kind of touched on this earlier. I'm definitely sitting back and just enjoying the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no faith in Blizzard to do really anything that I'm going to appreciate in the long run.
Yeah.
But this so far, like they've done a pretty good job. There's a few things obviously that I wish they didn't do or they had done differently. As for the future of Classic, I really just my big thing, and none of my friends agree with me on this, is I just want them to slow it down. Some of these phases seem like they're going quickly, like Dire Maul being added. It seems like it could be a little soon, and I don't know if it really is, and I don't know how it compares with the original release or whatnot. But I want it to go slow. I want to be able to take our time and enjoy everything, and I don't want to just be seeing a new phase every like couple months.
Yeah, I've heard that sentiment a lot.
Drag it out a little.
And coming from someone who has Hand of Ragnaros, which obviously means you've done all the raid content and you are at the tip top of the end of the game, right? Like having that weapon just is like a symbol that you have completed the game, right? Like and the game's not complete ever. But to hear that from someone who is a raider who has, completed all the content is really, it feels good, because I've heard that from a couple people I've interviewed. They've all said, there are a couple people who said to slow down, keep it as slow as possible. We want this to last, because again, no one really trusts Blizzard to make content that's going to be good. And the game was so perfect, right? The game is so good where it is. Do you start adding things, adding Classic Plus or adding Burning Crusade, you just end up back in Warlords of Draenor. You end up back in Battle for Azeroth, and you're like, it's not. Wait, just let's have Classic again. We're in 15 years. We're gonna release Classic WoW. So it's just an interesting. It's really nice to hear that from you. That from someone who's done the content, that the game should be even slower, to keep it slow. Keep it slow.
Yeah. That's definitely my big thing, is just to keep it slow. And yeah, I mean, the content, we've done all the content, and I'm still excited to do it. We're not burned out by any means. There's still tons of people who need gear, and there's still things that I'd like to see drop. So I'm still excited to do Molten Core. I'm never gonna get bored of it, or at least not for a while. I don't want to say never, but I'm not gonna get bored of it for a while.
Yeah.
And there's someone linked me some, some 4chan fake or possibly true like leaked data from, Blizz that said they've already got, TBC and Wrath servers lined up, and that's like the future. It's just gonna roll over to TBC and then to
Yeah.
Wrath, but
That's the easy
which
thing.
for yeah, that's easy for them, and it could be cool, and I'd enjoy that. Like I definitely play through TBC again, and like Serpentine Caverns was like one of the best raids that I've ever gone through. And I'd play all that content again, but there's so much that was supposed to be in vanilla that they skipped. Like all these, there's raids that never got completed or never got started. It would be cool to see them add, but I think it would be hard for them to balance the gear adding and what phases it would be added in, and the difficulty of Nax. I think that a lot of people really want to try to get through Nax because in Classic, nobody got through Nax.
Right.
Like the amount of people that did it are so small that you could interview 1,000 people and probably not even find one person who cleared Nax Ramas 40 minutes.
Yeah, will you finally upgrade out of Hand of Rag in Naxxramas, or will it happen in AQ? Have you looked at the gear when it'll actually be not?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and honestly, I think this is the weapon that's going to stay with me forever, at least until TBC. There are
Really?
options that that I guess you could consider better. The Dark Edge of Insanity from Cthulhu in AQ40 is a really good axe with a cool proc on it. But I don't think the top end is as high as Sulfuras and doesn't have the cool damage proc or the legendary status.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good axe that could be considered better. And then the Might Amenethil and Nax Ramis. But every person who can wield a 2-hand mace is going to want that, so
Right.
And being an enhancement shaman, I've already called in all my favors to have a raid spot, so taking loot over one of the warriors is not going to be a thing that'll ever happen. So I think I'm stuck with Sulfuras forever, and honestly, I don't I'm not too upset about that.
Yeah, not a bad place to be, stuck with Sulfuras.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I saw your post on Reddit, and it was incredible to just see. I mean, I don't know why it's so joyful to like see someone with it, and you're just like, especially a shaman for me, just because I play shaman. But like, how has the reception been? What was it been like with this? Because that post was on top of Reddit for a little bit. What's it been like having this weapon? What has changed now that you have this weapon, basically?
I mean, for me, not much has changed, I guess. There's definitely I'm kind of like an icon now, where everybody knows who I am. Whether or not they care who I am is a different story. But everybody knows. They've seen the Reddit post, and people constantly whisper me all day long, congratulating me or telling me that it was a waste to go to a shaman instead of a warrior. But for the most part, the outcome's been pretty positive. I feel cool, like I'm like a cool kid, I guess now. Like people like know me, so like I feel good about it and whatnot. But
has anyone
I don't know,
has anyone stopped
still
in
Matt
front of
Molson.
you? Has anyone stopped you, or like have you noticed like people like walking by that just like stop at their tracks and turn around and look at your character and start inspecting you?
I am currently sitting AFK on top of the bank in Orgrimmar, and I've just been just chatting with you and watching my screen, and there's people that are just walking up to me and inspecting me. And this one guy just ran up to me, and he must have misclicked because he opened a trade window and then immediately closed out of it. So yeah, there's a lot of people who see the iconic weapon and just immediately want to open trade or open the inspect screen, and only to be disappointed by all of my other gear except for the mace.
Oh God. So a question I want to ask is, and you've become kind of a shaman icon, I guess I would say. What spec do you rate as? What's your go-to spec for enhance? What would you say? And I don't know if you consider yourself an aficionado on enhance. How do you feel about enhance and raids, and what would you say is the best spec for them to contribute and actually do damage and all that?
I mean, if you're in a guild that lets you play as enhance, there's really only one spec at this early in the game, and that's going down deep enough in the resto to get the 3% hit talent.
Okay.
And the reduced mana cost on totems and the range on totems, on beneficial totems.
Gotcha.
And then the rest down enhancement. And I think later on in the game, when there's more gear available, more hit rating, you can kind of change from the resto into elemental, where it's more focused around you spamming frost shock and critting with spells to give you that 9% crit.
Gotcha.
From elemental devastation. But for anyone who wants to raid as enhancement, I think the big thing is find a guild that's chill. You're not going to be top damage. I struggle to beat tanks in a lot of fights, but I try to bring as much as I can to my homies. You know, like the guys in my group. I'm twisting my totems as best I can. I'm trying to provide the boost that the DPS in my group wants. Resto can do the same thing, but my totems are improved, so they're just a minuscule better.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just got lucky playing with such a good group of guys and having a guild that will let me play this funny kind of bad spec just for my own enjoyment. And
that's awesome.
And I really appreciate that. Yeah.
What are Wind Fury procs like? I mean, everyone wants to know what is it like to have a Wind Fury proc with Hand of Ragnaros this early in the game, and not only in PvE but in PvP. Have you one-shot anyone? What is that like?
Yeah, it has happened. The day I got it, I kind of rounded up some of my buddies and we went to Black Rock Mountain just to do a little PvP. And there are some one-shot Wind Furies, and they are amazing. It's that you live for that 20%. That's that 20% chance to be awesome is a real thing, and it is exciting when it happens.
That's outstanding, man.
The numbers are, I've seen like 1,500, or close to it 3 times in a row, and that is enough
Holy
to
cow.
knock out most, people who are wearing leather or cloth. I got ripped up pretty hard by one of our guild's main tanks. It was my first duel. I crafted the mace. I got it enchanted, caused a big scene in Orgrimmar, went outside, immediately got asked to duel by a tank, and got beat pretty hard, obviously. And, people on Reddit were like, yeah, I saw you, running around on your 60% mount, and then you got beat in your first duel. So, that
comes with the territory.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, yeah. The tank has to prove himself. He's like, yeah, that's why I'm the tank. Right. I can take Hand of Rag.
Right. Yeah, he can. He sure can.
Yeah. That's amazing, dude. It's just incredible to hear. So you guys are gonna keep going. You got who's gonna get Thunder Fury? I guess your main tank will get that.
Yeah, we've seen one binding in both of our raid groups. So both I guess the more, I don't know. So the main tank in my raid group got one, and I'm not sure if he's considered the main tank in the other raid group, but he got one too. So we're obviously going to prioritize the tanks first. I know there's a couple rogues in our guild who really want one.
Yeah.
And ideally that's not really a thing, but with just the nature of this guild being so relaxed and chill about loot and stuff, I think maybe it could be a thing, and that would be really sweet to see a rogue with a Thunder Fury.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it would be great to see maybe a hunter with Thunder Fury just to piss everyone off.
Yeah, I've heard talks that our next Sulfuras is going to go to a feral druid, so
wow.
we're really excited about that, because that'll stir up the troop.
Does the fire on hit, when you get hit, does the fire work, the proc from that, or is that on a feral druid?
Yeah, and For a feral druid, you're saying? I
Yeah.
don't believe it does. I think the 5 damage from getting hit works. Because there's
Yeah.
whenever you hit somebody who's wielding Sulfuras, you get hit with 5 fire damage. But I don't think the fireball proc works in cat form. I know Hand of Justice does, but Wind Fury does not, and other items.
Right.
So I don't believe so. But the stats, I mean, 30 fire resist on a weapon is awesome for tanking rag. So as a feral druid, we have a feral druid in our main raid group, and he's amazing. He does his job perfectly. He's always able to grab mobs and hold threat and
Okay, he's a tank.
live through.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's a tank.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking he was out farming that mace that lets him have 50% increased attack speed, and he has to have like 20.
Oh yeah, he's the manual crowd palmer. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been farming those for sure. But I think Sulfuras would be kind of a meme for him.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Actually, 100% for a druid tank. Yeah, and then just having it and switching it. Oh my god, dude! The hearts and minds of seeing people in Orgrimmar looking at a druid with it. Oh god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I already get made fun of for being a shaman with it, and like I think shaman is the best class to have it, at least for for PvPing. Like it's
100%.
the most for all the lulls. But
as a fellow shaman, I agree. No one else should get that weapon except for shamans. I might be a little bit biased, but
I think you're barking up the right tree.
Yeah. Who else? I mean, honestly, who else could use it? You warriors, you have your rage axe, whatever that is from Onyxia, or is it Onyxia? No, it's from Ragnaros. You can get that. You can go PvP with that.
Spinal Reaper is that's pretty good. The Bone Reaver's Edge is way better, but I think the big thing now is like now that Classic has been played for so long that people know how much work goes into it, and there's other weapons that are better for warriors, especially some axes and Bone Reaver's Edge. But
yeah, with their weapon specs, 100%.
Yeah, sword spec is crazy, especially with Wind Fury.
Yeah,
the Bone Reaver's Edge proc is just amazing. I don't think we've seen one as a guild yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Awesome, man. Well, I really want to thank you for coming on. I don't really have too much. Is there any shout outs you want to give out? Do you have any people you want to shout out while you're here?
I really, the big thing is my guild. Everybody in my guild who has played with me or who has helped me or who, has even just come into the channel and just talked to me about, what I need or what I want to do. It's just thank you so much, guys. And all the people who have whispered me and just said, congrats or awesome, wow, that's so impressive, it makes me smile every time I get a whisper. And thank you for being the one person on the Reddit post who messaged me something positive. So I'm glad that I got to come by and give you some support.
Yeah, thanks, man. I can't even believe that. I really am surprised that you weren't inundated with just positivity. I'm surprised that I was that you said it earlier, the beacon or the light in the end of the tunnel of someone.
Exactly.
Are you going to be streaming more? Is that planned, or is that just a thing you're looking at? Maybe it'll happen. We'll see what goes on.
Yeah, it's definitely. We're gonna see what happens. I know a lot of people have been asking me to, so they can see like the crits or whatever. But I'm not a very interesting person, and I don't really have like that streamer personality that some of these big name guys do. So I'll never be like a cool dude. But I'd like to show off some of the crits and definitely like last night, for example, I was at Lights Hope Chapel, and I think somebody like called out like on Alliance. They were like, "Oh, the Sulfuras Shaman's at Lights Hope Chapel," and like a guild showed up. Of like 20 guys from a guild on the Alliance side showed up, and they were like tearing me up, and I love that, like, dude, I was like, yes, like we did this. And all the Horde that were there were like trying to like band together to like fight back, and I like started a group, and they were like, we were fighting back, and slowly like we took the place back over. But
wow,
I like that. And people, if people want to watch that content, and
oh yeah, dude,
I'd be
100%.
more than happy to. It doesn't affect me. I just feel like I just sit there and like play, So I'm not like talking and stuff, and I feel bad because like people like want something exciting, and I'm just some guy who's got a cool weapon with nothing else going for him, you know?
No, dude, you sound good. I mean, it just takes time. It takes practice. So, I mean, I'm not a big streamer or anything, but to like interact with chat and talk to them it just takes time. And people just want to watch you kill people, and that's like the best part anyway. So you don't have to do too much.
I got a good crew of people that I play with that love PvP, and I've got a couple people who've whispered me and been like, you know, anytime you want to go out in PvP, like hit me up and we'll go out and do some stuff. And you know, I'm just waiting for the Alliance to step it up a little bit on this server and
good luck.
Bolster their numbers and maybe start doing some fights here. You know.
Yeah, good luck with that. I don't know if we'll ever see that. They're fleeing in droves every time a server transfer comes open.
Yeah, the one thing that I mentioned on the Reddit that people definitely like picked apart and ripped on me for saying was that I hope Blizzard kind of consolidates some of these servers, bring some of them back, so these people that have left us in like mass quantities end up back here, so I can start beating on them, because that's really what I want.
The Alliance, yeah. It's having a free Alliance transfer to our server would be nice, but also the server's really populated. Maybe just having a way for Horde only to transfer off would be better. I don't know. Just to even out the population.
I don't know. No, that's why we don't get paid for that stuff, and we don't know what's best. You know?
Yeah, and then again,
I feel bad. You know,
I have no faith in Blizzard for it to be correct, and then everyone's gonna, no matter what they do, people are gonna be mad. So you know, maybe I don't think think we'll ever see them fix it. I think it'll always stay the way it is, because no matter what they do, people will cry, yeah, that's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great time with Hand of Rag. Again, those people, I just want to be a part of it, man. If you ever want me to heal you, I'll be out there with my Resto Shaman. We can talk totems.
Hell yeah, dude. That sounds great.
All right.
Oh yeah, I'm always down for stuff, and anytime people message me with questions and stuff, I always try to give them the time of day and answer anything I can. So I kind of came off like a jerk on the Reddit, but I don't think I'm that bad of a person. I just I just like messing up. I just like messing up Alliance, and if they happen to be AFK at a flight path, I might happen to be winning.
That's not your fault. That's their fault.
It's their fault.
Yeah, sure. It's their fault that you have Hand of Rag. It's not. What else are you gonna do?
Exactly. What else can they do?
Thanks for listening. I want to thank Matt Molson again for joining me. I reached out to him on Reddit after seeing his post, and he was very accommodating. It was really awesome to just bathe in the glory that is a shaman wielding Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros. Thank you all for listening. Please stay tuned, because next week is sure to be interesting following BlizzCon. There's always more coming down the pipe, and I hope you enjoy. Have a great night, have a great life, and have a great morning.